I'm Justin Mott, and welcome to my home here in Hanoi, Vietnam. And today I'm going to show you some absolute garbage photographs that this professional photographer took. I'm doing this not because I want to. I hate this kind of stuff. I hate showing my worst images. I've done everything I can throughout my entire career to not show my worst images. However, for the sake of education, for the sake of a little bit of fun, for the sake of humility, and for the sake of hopefully giving you guys a little bit of confidence that you may or may not need, I'm going to show you some really terrible images that I took. And also show you how some of these images led to some of my best images that I've ever taken as a photographer within the same day. Anyway, let's get into it and let's talk photography. So all the images that I'm going to show you today are from my story about the last two northern white rhinos left in the world. This is a story that I've worked on several times, but all the images I'm going to show you today are from the first trip ever when I went there to start this story in central Kenya. So this image right here was from the first day of that first trip, and I remember just being so excited to be there because not only was this a big story and rare access to the rhinos, but it was also a big point in my career because I was pivoting towards wildlife photojournalism, towards personal projects, and I was also using a new camera as well, the Leica M10D. This is the first story I ever shot with this camera, so that you're going to see some technical errors that I'm going to sort of roast myself on as well. So this image here, I actually put the camera up to my eye, I looked at this image, and I hit the shutter button, and I took this photograph. And it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I remember how excited I was just to be there. And the reason I tell you guys this is because often I see people when they come and do my workshops, they go to a different country, they're so excited just to be there. They're so excited about everything around them is so new and so different. Colors, the people, the architecture, that they just sort of like take thoughtless images. And even as a professional, I did the same things. I'm in it for one. Number two, there's only two northern white rhinos left, and I framed it with the third rhino in the shot. That's not a northern white rhino, so that was stupid as well. From a composition standpoint, a storytelling aspect, stupid, because that's going to be very confusing. The light is pretty harsh. You can see the caretaker's shadow on one of the rhinos, but it's not exactly clear. You can see his hat a little bit, but it's a terrible shot. And I'm not going to lie, if someone showed me this image, I would be like, yeah, it's pretty terrible, and it is terrible. So, but there is a lesson to be learned, and there's always a lesson to be learned, and there's always, not always, but a lot of time there's a photo to be found if you just work it a little bit. So this day I didn't really get a fruitful shot, but it did spark an idea in my head. I was like, oh, the light at that time creates these interesting shadows. If the caretakers are in the right position, I could get a nice shot of the shadow of the caretaker on one of the rhinos, and that would make for an interesting shot, I thought. So, that's another reason why daily I review my images, especially if I'm shooting a story that I can go back to and shoot the same thing. And that's what this was. I was there for several weeks, and the same thing happens pretty much every day. So it's just a matter of lining up the light, the composition, and waiting for interesting moments to happen. So I knew I'd have another opportunity at this as long as the sun came out, and it did. So a couple days later, it lined up nicely again, nice sunrise. This was taken a little bit earlier in the day. I noticed, okay, the shadows are kind of interesting. Zachariah, the head caretaker, is walking around, and it's close. It's close for me. The light's decent. The shadow's okay. He's a little distorted the way that his body is curved. Whenever I'm doing a silhouette shot or whenever I'm doing a shadow, it has to be quite clear what that is. I feel like in order for it to work well, it needs to be someone's like exact profile or like a full hand. Whenever you have like a shadow of a hand on something and it's a closed fist, you don't know it's a hand, it just looks like a blob. I hope that makes sense. So for me, this was like almost passable, but I'm not aiming for passable. I'm aiming for perfection, or I'm aiming for the best possible shot in the situation, and I knew there was a better shot to be had. Composition isn't really that great. We've got a lot of sky in the shot. The tail I've cropped off for some reason, but I knew I was closer. So then the next time I went out, it all finally lined up perfectly for me, and I got this shot, which I'm quite pleased with. You don't have as much of the distracting grass in the foreground. It's not blocking the rhino. It's a nice clean shot of the caretaker on the rhino in a really nice spot right in the body there. I don't mind that I cropped off the tail there too, because if I pulled back a little bit, it just would have been too much empty space. The light was really nice. It was really golden. So it all kind of came together. So it's funny that the same photographer can take that other shot. Again, I'm not going to show that image to anyone while I'm showing it to you guys now, but I had to, the way that I work, and some of you can relate to this and some of you maybe not. Maybe you don't take a lot of bad shots, but I had to take that bad shot. I had to work the scene a bit to know that there was another shot there. It's just the way that I work. I think it's my background in street photography and reportage photography. I need to see the scene unfold and just work it until I get a picture out of it. And for here, I feel like I finally did. And this picture ended up being in my final edit for the final story. So moving on to another image. This is the image I'm most known for this story, and maybe the image I'm just most known for overall. This image was published in the Washington Post. It's been a global ad campaign for Leica, their witness campaign. I know I talk about that a lot, but it just is, and a lot of my audience is interested in Leica stuff. However, we do welcome non-Leica people here as well. I hope you guys know that. But before I took this image, I took some real garbage images that led to this image. So first, I took this image. It was the first time that I saw like Zachariah, one of the caretakers, actually sit with the rhino. I was so excited. The light was absolute crap, yes, but not blaming it on that. My composition is really bad here as well. The expression, the moment is terrible on Zachariah's face. He looks uncomfortable. I caught him just as he sat down. I caught the rhino in a weird position. There's so much empty space with the ground there, the dirt. There's like just nothing redeeming about the shot except the fact that it's a man and a rhino. It's just the composition, the light, the moment, everything's terrible in the shot. However, I did notice that this situation definitely has potential. Again, being there, looking at my daily takes and saying like, okay, if this opportunity presents itself again in good light, how am I going to frame it? So I start to formulate these ideas and say, okay, if they sit down, I'd like to get a little bit closer. I'd like to not have a bad expression. I'd like to not have all that dirt in the shot. So that led me to this shot, which is like the smaller holding area where the rhinos go at the end of the night. They're protected full time, but during the day, they're let out in a larger area, and at nighttime, they're kept in a smaller sort of blocked off area and protected. And this shot, I was like, oh, wow, finally, like they sat down in the tall grass. This is where the rhinos feed. This is where they're going to spend their night. And then Zachariah sat down with one of the rhinos. But then I took like this terrible shot here. First of all, he's not even in focus. The rhino's not in focus. The tree in the background is in focus. I'd like to give you an excuse, but I don't have one. I was just so excited to be there that I just totally messed up my first couple shots. And then my composition is awful. The second rhino is growing out of the other rhino. It looks like some sort of odd rhino limousine there. But this time in the moment, I figured it out and I worked from bad to good. I slowed down, I took a breath, and there's a little lesson in there as well, you guys. You know, for me, I'm shooting with a Leica M10D, so I can't chimp my images. However, sometimes when you know you didn't get the shot you want or something's technically off, you just kind of give up because you're flustered or you're just nervous. Don't, because you'll regret it later on. If you're ever flustered or things aren't working the way you want or it's a technically challenging shot or the composition's challenging, just take a minute, take a breath, take a moment and think, and then get right back into it. It's just never worth it to actually give up. So I didn't give up. I knew my composition wasn't great. I knew it wasn't what I wanted. I was having a hard time framing the other rhino out, and I was a little bit nervous getting too close because this was the first few days with them. We were sort of feeling each other out. And I strongly believe in like earning the space, not just with people, but with animals as well. So I was slowly earning that space with Zachariah, with body language sometimes, but talking with him. Is it okay if I get close? And we're also talking about rhinos here, and they're close with him, but he's been around them all the time. So how are they going to react to me? I don't want to put him in danger, the rhino in danger, or myself in danger. But, you know, I talked to him. He's like, yeah, I'm like, Zach, this is a really nice shot. Is it okay if I get closer? I don't want to bother you. I don't want to ruin this moment, but can I just get in a little bit closer? He's like, yeah. So he's petting the rhino. And I took a breath. I moved in closer. I was patient. And I was able to get this shot here. And this shot is probably my most famous shot right now. It's not my favorite shot, even from the story. I'll show you that in a little bit. I was quite happy with this shot, quite happy with the moment, quite happy with the light, and happy with the composition, and it really just came together nicely and really worked for me. And that just happened because I was patient and because I didn't give up. And now I'm just going to quickly show you a shot that has no happy ending. This image right here on paper should have worked for my story. It should have worked as an image because there's two northern white rhinos left, and there's two caretakers, and the caretakers were resting, and the rhinos were resting in the background. And, you know, the light was pretty crap, and it just didn't work. I always like to think I can make a picture out of anything, but I didn't here. I totally didn't. This isn't a great picture. In theory, it should work, but it didn't. And this last shot, I mean, this shot had so much potential. You've got the gun, you've got the rhino. It says so much symbolically about the situation that the rhinos are in, on the brink of extinction because of poaching, because they're slaughtered for their horns. And look what has to go into protecting them. Armed rangers patrolling the area 24/7. This shot was towards the middle of the trip. I noticed the rangers walk past the rhinos, but sometimes they stop to talk to the caretakers. They're just sort of exchanging information or just having conversation. And one of the guys was talking to Zachariah, the head caretaker, and his gun there. I was just trying to frame the rhino through the gun. It just didn't work. It ended up being like a tight crotch shot. It's not good. You know, he's out of focus. The rhino's in focus. Bravo, Justin. But it's just not a nice picture. You know, I knew, again, there was a shot there. I just couldn't make it work the way that I wanted it to work. And just on that note, just want to stop right now just to remind you guys of the importance of personal projects and let you know that I actually help photographers through my one-on-one learning on my website at justinmott.com. I have a mentoring package. This isn't for everyone, but it's for people out there that are really interested in a deep dive in their photography. I help you find a project, you work on the project weekly, we look at photos, we go back out and reshoot. I just want to remind you guys the power of the reshoot. It allows you to make mistakes, it allows you to recognize those mistakes, it allows you to also reconcile those mistakes by going back out and reshooting. So I have my monthly mentorship. The price is $999. That comes with 4 one-hour one-on-one sessions spaced out over the course of an entire month. Some people do 1 month, some people go month to month. You also have full access to all of my knowledge, full access to me via WhatsApp to ask me technical questions, style questions. I help you find a story, shoot your story, and more importantly, I help you find your style as a photographer. Anyway, you can check all that out at justinmott.com. All right, back to this image. So I knew there was a potential really good hero image here, and so I waited. I made sure I was there every day at that time when they walked by, and then that led me to this shot. I got a little bit closer. I didn't get a crotch shot. I framed his crotch out, and I got the rhino with perfect light on her eyes. And I still think I could have improved this a little bit, but it all happened so fast, and this is the best I could get at that time. And again, I was still quite happy with it. And this image I actually like a lot more than that other image in the Leica ad campaign, but to each his own. So a couple lessons to unpack here. One, if you're like me, it's important to really work a scene. It's important to look at your dailies, especially if you're shooting the same thing or the same thing happens every day. It's important to look at your images at the end of the day, see if you missed anything, see if you can improve on anything, and then go back out and shoot that the next day. Another lesson here is that we all take bad photographs. It's important to learn and grow from those images. It's important to weed out those images in real time and not take them. But as you can see, I still take really bad images. I think it'd take a lot less terrible pictures now at this point in my career, but I still take really bad images sometimes. However, what I've done well at is learning from those bad images. And as you can see, some of the best images in my portfolio started off with really bad images, even in the course of one day. And the last lesson to unpack here is just the importance and the power of a personal project. You guys know I believe in it so much. That's why I like to teach it. I'm not going to keep selling you on that. If you work with me or not, the important part is for you guys to go out and find a project that's attainable, something that you can shoot close by, something that you can at least focus on once a week, and hopefully similar things are happening so that you have the opportunity to learn from your mistakes, fix your mistakes, and grow from those mistakes. And yeah, the ultimate goal is to take less bad pictures, because the time you're putting into taking bad pictures is time that you could be focused on taking really good pictures. That's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was tough for me to show you some of my worst images. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to check out my online store at justinmott.com for my one-on-one classes, my presets, and my workshop. Again, only 3 slots left, my Northern Vietnam photography workshop. It's going to be awesome. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to have a wonderful day. Sorry it got so dark at the end. Didn't want to change while I was in a groove filming this. Bye for now.